first of all, I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar. Thank you for taking time out of busy diaries. Also, slightly more difficult, I think, when the weather's a little bit better. You keep looking out of your window and thinking it'd be nice to go for a walk when we've got some sunshine and some warmer weather. But thank you for giving us your time this morning. So today's webinar is called Making IT Work for You. And over the next sort of 45, 50 minutes, our plan is that we're going to talk to you and hopefully give you some insights, some thought provocation, and perhaps some tools and techniques and best practice that might help you make IT work better for you within your business. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what that means. Now, as we go through today's session, you're more than welcome. We have muted everybody on the call so that we don't get any distractions. But what we would really welcome is for you to, give us your thoughts, ask any questions that you have got through the session. So in normal Teams support, you've got a toolbar at the top, and you can see a Q&A logo or icon at the top. So just click on that. And you can ask us any questions as you go through. We won't deal with those questions as we go. We've got a section at the end where we will come back to the questions that are being asked. And of course, if we don't get to answer all of the questions on the call, we will make sure that we follow up with full answers to everybody as part of the follow-up protocol that we have. Also, just to let you know that we will share with you a recording and a copy of these slides as well following the call, so there's no need for you to make copious notes as we go through. So just to introduce myself, so first of all, I'm Oliver Lofthouse. I'm the sales director here at Chess. So I work with our sales teams and marketing teams across our group in supporting our customers and driving appropriate and collaborative solutions into our customers to help them grow their businesses and at the same time help to grow Chess as a business and make us a more credible reseller in the market. Alongside me, we've got somebody who has got a huge amount of experience, not only in the industry, but also with Chess. So I'm really pleased to be able to welcome Martin Bacon onto the call today. So Martin's the head of our consultants team. So Chess definitely has a consultant-led approach. We are quite lucky in the fact that we can bring best of breed content and services and products to our customers. And therefore, what that means is that we can be really consultative about the way that we understand our customers' needs and then make sure that we tailor and build appropriate solutions for our customers based on their individual businesses. And I think that's quite a unique situation. And therefore, what we do have is a team of consultants led by Martin that really work closely with our customers in the early stage of that sales process, just to make sure that we really tie down the execution and the proposal in detail. So we'll be with you for the next 45 minutes. As I said, please ask questions. And now what I'm going to do is just touch on the agenda. So I'm going to do a very brief introduction to Chess. So we've got a mixture of people on the call today. So some people who are customers already with Chess. So thank you for your continued business and support. But we've also got a number of prospect customers. So we hope that Chess is part of your consideration set now when you're considering a new IT supplier to your business. And what I will do is to do a little bit of an introduction to tell you a little bit about our capability and hopefully give you confidence that Chess is the type of business that you might like to partner with as you move forward. What we're then going to do is we're going to look around four actual key pillars. And really this is sort of Chess's objective in how we want to work with our customers. Our aim is that we want to help you make your businesses more efficient. We want to help you reduce your costs and making sure that you're getting really good value for the services that you've got. We obviously want to keep you secure. It's really important in today's age when you hear every day in the news about cybersecurity incidents and exposures of data that are unwarranted and quite costly to organizations. So we want to make sure that everything that we're doing is with security at front of mind. And then the last area that we're going to focus on is around unlocking AI potential. So, clearly it's the buzzword in the industry at the moment. And I think at the moment we've sort of got two two ways that customers are approaching their strategy around AI. We've got those customers that are trying to sort of bolt the doors and not let AI integrate and disrupt their business. And then we've got other customers that are full on. They turn the tap on and they really want to embrace the technology and the artificial intelligence in their business. And what we're going to do is talk about how you might transition from one to the other and make sure again that you're fully protected. We'll answer then your Q&A, and then we will close the webinar. Okay, I can just see we've got a hand up. So I don't know who that is. It's Kit, actually. I can see. I don't know if you can unmute Kit. Is it? If you've got
any questions, maybe just put them in the chat. Apologies,
yeah.
My other machine crashed. I've jumped onto my other one, which I had ready. So hopefully you can still see the screen share. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's showing. It's showing.
Right.
And if you've got something, Kit, that you need, just feel free to put something in the chat as well, and we can come back to you that way. Cool. Okay, so if you just move on to the next slide, please, Martin. Brilliant, thank you. So so just to introduce Chess a little bit to you. So we're really proud that Chess has been in existence for over 30 years. We're really proud that we are privately owned. We're a privately owned business, and we think that's a really key differentiator because it allows us to really put our customers at the heart of what we do. It gives us the freedom to make the right decisions for our customers, and I think and ensures that we're very agile as a business. I'm really pleased that the key founder of the business, David Pollock, actually still is very active in the business today. And again, what that does is really help to ensure that we've got an agile and really responsive business in being able to navigate the challenges and opportunities that we see in today's market. So just a little bit of context. So we're about 240 people strong. I should just note at this stage that today I'm focusing around the ICT part of our group business. We do also have another business called CyberLab, so we will touch on that. That's another business. It is a separate trading entity, and we decided about 2 years ago to actually split out all of our security practice and capability into a separate business to ensure we got the real focus and specialized resources in one place. So all I'm talking about today is the ICT business, but I know Martin will touch on some of the capability that we're able to introduce to our customers from having such a strong and vibrant business as CyberLab. But we'll talk about that as we go through. So in ICT, we're 240 people strong. We're all UK-based support, so all of our in-life support is done from within the UK. As I talked about, we have very strong capability around consultants, and also we have very strong vendor relationships. So, again, as I mentioned, I think this is really best in class for us. It's about making sure that we're working at a strategic level with all of the key vendors in our marketplace and making sure that we can bring the power of those partnerships out to our customers without our customers needing to feel as though they've got to have individual relationships with your likes of Microsoft or Cisco or Sophos, whoever that might be. We're very proud to say that we've got 18,000 customers who are active with Chess, and they range from all different sizes, scale, maturity, and complexity. Just a little bit of a stat, over 70% of our customers have been with us for more than 5 years, and 40% of customers have been with us for more than 10 years. So we're really proud around the loyalty and support that we get from those customers, and we hope that our support and our management of that relationship is testament to those long tenures. So on the left-hand side of this slide, at the bottom, it just shows you a little bit about our capability. So what we do is we structure our capabilities around sort of 6 key areas, or what we call product families. And I'll just use an example of that. So in the Connect product family, this will be all of the solutions that you might need around infrastructure, network, internet access, mobile devices, voice or telephony, that you might need to make your business more effective. So, and we do that across Connect, across cloud, devices, digital and digital transformation and capability. So whether that's SharePoint, it might be the adoption of 365 and Copilot, or it could be around website development. And we also build apps for a number of customers in that area. So we work on projects where customers are looking to execute digital transformation in their business and make them more effective. I've talked about security, and then also the other thing that we do is that we have a real strength around services. So that's managed service that we can offer our customers, IT support, security support, and also professional engineering services, technical architects, and also support around training and adoption that we have across the business as well. And Martin, if you move on to my last slide, I'm just going to now focus on the wheel on the right-hand side. So making IT work for you is absolutely what we strive to do every day in our customer relationships. And this wheel almost depicts how we try to do that. I've talked about what goes on around the outside of this wheel in terms of our business outcomes that we're trying to achieve. But the inner part, that's the grey area, I'm just going to touch on for 1 minute, because I think it's important just to talk to you about the sort of the sales cycle and the life cycle that we have with our customers. So as I said before, if you start at the top of the wheel, consult is really, really important for us. We're very fortunate and we have a very wide portfolio of products and services and vendors that we can offer our customers. We're not trying to make every customer take the same solution, and that means that consultation is really important to make sure that we select the right product for your business. Clearly, we talk around the delivery, making sure that we provision those orders seamlessly, we meet the needs of our customers in terms of timescales, we don't disrupt any other services that or your business in the way that we deliver those solutions in. And then I think at the bottom of the wheel, really important, because a lot of suppliers perhaps overlook the adoption of technology when it's presented to a business and executed. So quite often we see software solutions, platforms going into businesses, and perhaps you don't get the take up and the real adoption of that technology from an early stage. So we work very closely with you to make sure that you've got the tools and resources to be able to ensure that the technology you've invested in really does get adopted across your organization so you can maximize the efficiency. And then the last part of the wheel at sort of 9 o'clock is the support. So that's making sure that you've got the appropriate support for your needs, whether that's a managed support service contract, whether that's reactive support. And also, as I said, it is about having a UK-based help desk, which also then we can triage those calls and get support from suppliers and other organizations as we need it. So that's a little bit about Chess. And now what I'm going to do is hand over to Martin. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thanks, Oliver. So as we touched on in relation to the agenda on the outside of the wheel, we've got those certain subjects of making you efficient, keeping you secure, unlocking your AI potential, and reducing your costs. But just to touch a little in terms of the consultancy capability that we have, I've been in the business here for 11 years now, and I've got a team of experts that specialize in each of these areas that you see on screen around connectivity, devices, security, cloud, digital, and services, of course. Now, any of these are available to inquire with, get in front of you, and get an understanding of some of your unique challenges or business elements that you're trying to really drive forward. So you can see me there with slightly longer hair, as that picture shows. But we love getting in front of customers and helping out, and it's exciting for us. We're all geeks, but we're proud geeks, and we can also talk commercially as well. So it works really well for us. So kicking off into the main parts that we're covering today. So let's first of all look at some of the interesting facts. So 50 to 60% of Microsoft 365 licenses underused, oversized, or inactive. I mean, that's a staggering amount. Most UK users really just rely on 4 to 6 core tools, being Outlook, Teams, Word, Excel, OneDrive, PowerPoint, for example. But there's a lot more to it that you may not have realised, and that's where we'll touch into some of the things. So I'm a big advocate of these, not hidden apps, but the very unknown apps in that sense. So I'm proud to say that I actually utilise all of these on my daily basis at work, and it's really helped drive some marginal gains in efficiencies in respect. So I've got some good examples for you. So bookings. All of my team, we have a list of consultancy services on an internal booking page that our internal account managers can go on to. It's linked in with our diaries. It's got pre-populated categories, questions, etc., where they fill it out. Those bookings then go into our diaries. They're shared with the customers and their internal people, and it just enables us to be able to proactively get in front of our customers to make sure that we're giving them the information they need. Forms. Some of you are likely using this because it's quite a popular one, but Forms has moved a long way in many respects. It's now got a lot of AI-driven capability in there. So surveys, quizzes, with the automatic data insights, even now Copilot prompting you to say, what are you trying to do, and work with that. Microsoft Lists is another one that I love. I use that extensively for tracking projects, for example, certain opportunities I might be working on with customers, customizable fields, but you can also link this in with Forms now. So a good little trick that Microsoft brought in Lists is to say you create your list and you've got all your columns. You can then create a form from that list automatically, and as people are filling out the form, it's automatically populating the list, which you can then link with other components. So useful to look at. Microsoft Loop, this was an acquisition of Microsoft a few years ago, but you're seeing a lot more of this coming in now, especially in respect to Teams, chats, channels, and that sort of thing. Such use cases that I utilise Loop for, I might be asked for example, any ideas around a certain subject. And rather than me going to each of the team, I have a Teams chat with my team. I'll put a Loop component in. I'll build out the questionnaire, for example, and say, these are the areas that I want us to focus on or brainstorm. Put your ideas in here, and that all comes in live. And then once I've got all the information, I can just share it straight from the Loop component. OneNote, I've been using OneNote now since 2005, I think. Before, it was all notepad and pen. When you're trying to find something, it's really difficult. I pride myself on being able to go onto a customer meeting and refer and say, oh, actually, yeah, we met back in 2022. 2022 on this day, and we covered this, and they're like, wow, that's great. And so by using those tools, it's helping me find that, but it's also searchable. So any sort of comments, words, pictures, anything that you've put into OneNote, you can search for. And then finally, one of those other hidden apps is Planner. So this works really well. So I work on a lot of product launch elements, and so what I do on this, we obviously have various stakeholders within a product launch process, be that the ops board, finance, project billing, the commercial team, the technical teams, and Planner helps me build out all the tasks and elements, assignments, dates, and tracking and reporting that I need with forever getting anything new to take to market. So some of those little things can really make a difference. I think it's probably worth me touching on at the end. We've got a little QR code that you'll be able to scan where you can choose which sort of items you might be interested in for us to talk to you further about. We're then going to move on to other bits that can make you efficient. So this stat is quite interesting. So this is a Gartner prediction that 70-75% of most new enterprise apps will be using a low code, no code by this year, which is quite significant. This is really empowering businesses, especially when you're involving things like Copilot, to drive a huge amount of efficiency and cost saving over your traditional development costs. So let's go through what this is really sort of touching on. And it's around the Microsoft Power Platform. So consisting of the capability of using Copilot generative AI, which directly can work into app building. We're finding a lot more tech savvy people are actually just starting to go off and do this on their own. They're exploring, they're looking at it, but it's allowing users to build apps and workflows using natural language, which is quite interesting. For us, I mean, you've got Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, Power Pages within this, and I use it, and the business as a whole uses it, if I'm honest, where we're utilizing flows, Power BI, and all of these disparate data sources to bring this stuff together. And we as an organization help a lot of our customers building reports, flows, applications, and automation from scratch to help them really get some of the benefits of this. But of course, we've got a lot of customers that have done it already and started it. And sometimes you might have someone leave, for example, that's got that knowledge in their head. And then where do you go with that? So we've helped a lot of customers take over those sort of flows and apps and get ownership on them to ensure they're governed and managed properly. But then you've also got things that apps that might be created as mobile OSs update, and you're using these apps on mobiles, those apps also need to be updated. So you've got a lot of things within the Power Platform that can really help drive business efficiency to speed things up. A good example of that is the booking system I talked about earlier. Every day, as soon as a booking is put on there, I've got a flow that takes that and puts it into an Excel sheet in SharePoint. And then twice a day, our Power BI reads that Excel sheet and pulls all that information into our management reports. So So those sort of things you can join up using all of this Microsoft ecosystem. And it works significantly better than if you're trying to marry up different systems using APIs, because it's all there. It's all just joined up already. But I love this because it really makes my life easier when I'm doing reports. And if I'm ever asked for anything quickly, I jump on, I can press a button and I've got it there. Other parts about efficiency. So 15 million devices used for business in the UK without being managed by a mobile device management solution, which is a staggering amount. It's only offering there's minimal levels of protection there that might be there for your antivirus and anti-malware sort of exploitations. But there is a simple solution, again, which Microsoft can drive here in relation to that MDM and also deployment. So Microsoft Intune is a product that's been around for a long time, and it can assist with a lot of different areas. So not only do we have that scary 15 million figure, but according to other enterprise research, 47% of companies actually allow access from unmanaged devices. So the BYOD element, so bring your own device. 70% of those are said to be operating without any direct IT management. When you think about the cybersecurity risk that brings, it's significant because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what are on those machines, what people are doing with them, where they're going, and how they're being used. And it's a massive risk. Touching on some of the benefits, we see a lot of customers that are still manually building new desktops and laptop rollouts, tablets, etc. With Intune and Autopilot, you can actually automate that whole process. Effectively, you build a template, you can create personas based on people's job roles, and it enables you a zero touch. So I got a new laptop just before Christmas, and it has this in place. It came to me, shipped directly from the manufacturer. Because we've got the Autopilot piece geared up, all I had to do was sign in. It recognized my credentials. It knew what apps I needed, what policies, what access levels, and it just pushed it all down the wire. I signed in a couple of times, a couple of reboots, and it's built. We don't have to have someone sitting there now doing all this stuff manually. And so it massively reduces that IT overhead for the setup, enrollment, policies, everything that needs to go through. And it improves the user experience in many respects, because when you're waiting for a device, you might have a new starter that's joined urgently, and in IT, you've got to get them to do it, and then it's just creates a headache for everyone. And you can link these processes in with your personnel or HR department to make them really simple. Seamless integration with Endpoint Manager is also important because it ensures you've got all the configuration, compliance, updates, applications managed from a central location. So you're not having to ensure that you've got separate products and bits, check in that you've got the latest patches and everything there. And it's also doing all your enrollment and compliance elements. So it will automatically push all those policies out as you're updating them. So certainly something to think about if you're really trying to drive efficiencies in that area. We're going to touch into some cybersecurity stuff now. So Hack Risk AI is a product that we recently launched, and it's an AI-powered cyber risk monitoring platform. And we can think of it really as an early warning system for key cyber areas, which is all designed to show organizations what attackers can see and potentially exploit. I think it goes without saying that the key thing about cybersecurity in today's business is that it is an ever-evolving challenge, and to do it once a year to check everything's going with Cyber Essentials is great, Cyber Essentials Plus is great, but these things move on, and it can be risky. So having something in place that's proactively assessing your company's threat landscape, it really is as important as ever. And we do have additional options on this, and I'll touch on it on the next slide, where one of the things which is the biggest risk in my opinion is your people, because they're the ones that can potentially be clicking these spurious links, and they're the easiest areas to attack in terms of phishing and identity sort of theft and spoofing and that sort of thing. So phishing simulations, testing your people, how well and how efficient and how trained up they are on being able to manage and help with your cybersecurity policies, and it also make them think before clicking a link or inadvertently act on things and stop them being duped. So what does Hack Risk AI actually do? So it can scan your external attack surface, it can identify vulnerabilities, misconfigurations, and exposed assets. So that's sort of phase one. Monitors the dark web for leaked credentials and data, which is always something to be concerned about because you don't want that information out there. It can prompt you to get passwords changed and re-strengthen that security. It can also highlight supply chain and third-party risks, which, if you go back to the recent Jaguar Land Rover incident that happened in August, September last year, that actually occurred by this method. That resulted in weeks long of non-production, billions of economic impacts and layoffs across the whole of that supplier ecosystem. It had a massive impact impact, but it was through their supply chain that managed to happen via a password exploit. So keeping an eye on who is looking after you, making sure that you understand what their policies and their cyber posture is as important as ever. Once you've got all this in place, it can undertake and provide you a clear, prioritized remediation advice. It's non-technical, so it can really help you manage that risk, your reputation, and the first line cyber posture for your business as a whole. I like to think of this as sort of a credit score for your cybersecurity that's easy to share with board leadership, internal teams, insurers, and even customers, because our customers are a lot more savvy about these things now. They're asking us, what do we do to protect ourselves, because they're reliant upon us. And so it's really important, if you want to strengthen your business and grow and have that reassurance for your customers that you can do these sort of things. So we actually can provide a free report on this. It's free for access for up to 14 days. It will highlight the high priority issues, the top 5 exposures and top 5 vulnerabilities, but the full subscription option actually shows you everything. So it's worth checking, and you can run these reports whenever you want. But again, at the end, you can scan the QR code, and if you're interested in any of that, you'll be able to get that through. I love this one. So this is a stat that's thrown around there quite a bit. So 30 minutes per person per day on average can be saved by following implementation of Copilot and a few focus agents. And I've been an advocate for Copilot for a couple of years now. I mean, I'm lucky enough. I'm a techie, and I work with Microsoft very quite closely, so I get to see a lot of this stuff up front. But when you're saying potentially you can save 15, 30 minutes a day, if you do the maths on that, in a business of 20 people, it could be anywhere between 1,100 to 2,000 hours saved per year, or 266 days, which is almost a full-time employee by implementing these tools that are coming. And AI isn't a future concept. It's here, and it's part of businesses that are there. It's just been really given a rebrand and pushed out. AI has been in the background of a lot of technologies we've been using for a number of time. Teams is a great case for this in terms of all the noise suppression bits and all the prompts and the overall sort of assessments and studies that it's doing for you in terms of promoting AI in that application. The first part of anything, I guess, when it comes to AI is get a policy in place, because otherwise it's a bit Wild West. Because if you've got people at the moment that are going out there that are currently using ChatGPT, for example, that you may well not be aware of, any information, data, files that are being uploaded into that isn't really secured. It's going out there into the public domain. With Copilot, that data stays within your tenant, and it's not used to train public AI models like the ChatGPT and Gemini, etc., and Grok and all those sort of things. So by keeping it within Copilot, you're reinforcing any IP that you may have. It's staying within your Microsoft 365 tenant, protected by your Microsoft security policy. So something really worth thinking about, because survey your people, find out if they are using AI or what their potential use cases are. We did this yesterday, funnily enough, where we had a sales engagement day, and we were asking the business and all of our account managers, give us some examples of where Copilot agents could really benefit you in terms of time saving. There were some great ideas that come out that Oliver's now got action on with the rest. But touching on the agents part, where we've seen some real business successes here is sitting back and thinking, because it's easy to just keep doing what you're doing. AI can't be concerning if you're doing it properly. And one of the many things that Copilot really brings is for these AI agents to save some of that heavy workload. So I've created some myself, for example. So I work a lot in the consulting area of unified communications, contact center, Microsoft Teams, modern workplace, Copilot. And I get asked a lot of the same questions by our internal people. Can it do this, or does it work with that? And what do I need to do this? So I built an agent, for example, for our cloud telephony product, Cloud Voice. And I took all the documentation that I had, put that in a SharePoint site. And that could comprise of pricing information, FAQs, sales, product collateral, PowerPoint presentation. Everything I had, I dropped into that. And then I built the agent to look at that SharePoint site. I then gave it some prompts and some guidelines in terms of what sort of things to ask for. These are the regularly asked questions that actually pop up. And then rather than having anything in my head, I can just put it there. I can point people to the agent, and they can just type in what they want to know, and it will come back and it will search all of those documents and bring back the information. Also, it's always good to test it, make sure it's excellent in terms of its quality, its capability, its responses, but these things can save so much time. And so it's looking for those use cases that can really drive that productivity. And some of the benefits, I mean, enabling your business to focus on the creative and strategic work rather than just dealing with the everyday mundane. It makes it exciting for people. They're not having to constantly answer questions. I mean, we've implemented some great AI capability in our business for doing things like DPA checks or data protection, just making sure that when people are calling in, they are who they say they are. So our AI agent will ask those questions in a great human sounding voice with different accents if you want them. It will check that. It will manage our call routine better based on where people want to go. It can do sentiment analysis in terms of how people are engaging with that bot, and if we need to escalate early and take it off to a human. We've also got outbound stuff where, for instance, we're contacting late payers on a proactive mechanism rather than having people do it. A lot of times people just forgotten, they get that call, it's got a script, it's got a journey, as we say, and it's prompting people to do that. So these are all time intensive and repetitive tasks that really you can manage with AI in a controlled format and tweak as you need to. So it works really well. And I've got a great example here actually of how we can really assist customers with Copilot. So a lot of people are not scared of it, but it's a journey into the unknown, getting the most of the tools that are available to them and overcoming them common blockers. So it's low awareness, so not understanding how it really applies, limited skills, because people think you might need a lot of skills to get this stuff going. And there's also the trust and risk exposure. So understanding what impact is for your data. One of the first things that a lot of people really touched on when Copilot came out was saying, be careful. Your data, you don't know who's got access to it internally, and Copilot could show all that. Fundamentally, it's not necessarily strictly true, because if you've already got things in SharePoint, for example, they've already got it. They could search for it in SharePoint and find it. So this is just making it easier. But doing those data readiness assessments and checks is always a good idea. So these accelerators can really help you get underway, and they're not huge expenses in terms of the money that you can save from this capability. There's some great offers on licensing from Copilot at the moment as well, which we'd love to talk to you about. But on the basic level, it can identify your users and the scenarios that they've got, and we can put some pointers of where you can maybe get some efficiencies out of that. We go through all the prerequisites, we enable Copilot for a subset of users, and then we train. As Oliver mentioned, that adoption piece is critical to making sure that you're getting the efficiencies out of that. We ourselves, we're naturally quite a risk-averse business, and we wanted to make sure that when we're doing Copilot internally, we're assessing people, we're training them, we're reviewing to see how they're doing, and we've automated that process, so we get automated reports that show usage. And then if people don't need it, or they could use a lower level of the Copilot license, we can switch them, because there's a cost to this, and we make sure that we're being efficient with it, which is a really good idea. So on the standard and premium plans, you get the data readiness assessment in standard, but then also within premium, we could actually build you an AI agent as well. So based on the initial discovery that we do with you, you could pick your most time-consuming activity that might be driving everyone insane, and we could build an agent to automate that for you and really start driving that forward. And a great example of a customer that I engaged with recently. So this was a relatively small business, it's only about 18 to 20 people, but they design and manufacture attachments for mini diggers, excavators, telehandlers, all that sort of heavy industry equipment. But they had lots of information online on the website and lots of information in their databases where they've got all their product catalogue and everything. And they were getting a hell of an amount of calls that were going to a few people and web chats, and it was getting rather unmanageable. But when we did some analysis with them, half of those were answering simple queries like, does this work with that? Or what size is this? All this information is effectively available. It's just that they want to reassure and reconfirm. So I built an ROI model based on people's salaries as an average, time taken, on cost, all that sort of thing. And then worked out how much it would cost for them to put an agent in to address this particular bit. So based on a 50% handling mechanism, 30k a year they were saving after spending on the AI as well, because they wouldn't have to recruit more people. It was freeing up their people to deal with the more urgent and complex inquiries, but it just enabled them to focus and not worry about those simple things that should be just dealt with. But it's still professional, and there's also escalation process in place. So it can give you a real good idea, but looking at that stuff, getting that ROI model can really be a benefit. So if you want to talk about that, I could talk about that all day. We're going to look at some cost-saving elements now, and these are some of the things really that I come across and my team come across on a regular basis that can sometimes just be forgotten. So interesting one, 1 gig connectivity. Everyone at one stage was getting 100 meg bearer connectivity lines in and then taking bandwidth. The prices for 1 gig has dropped 10 to 30%. And some of the things around this is crazy, because overall, the cost of connectivity in lease lines has dropped significantly. Gigabit is now standard in terms of your bearer circuit. The cost between 100 meg and gig is minimal, if not gig is cheaper in most cases. The fiber networks from alternative networks that have come in and joined into the sort of wide spectrum of the connectivity piece has enabled a lot more widespread footprint. The installation charge is often reduced or indeed waived on longer contracts. So if you are needed to put a new bearer circuit in, you don't really have to pay for those anymore, but it's a lot more standardized on the pricing. We had a customer just end of last year, had multiple connections in their different sites. We saved them over £5,000 per month compared to their incumbent. Over 3 years, just over £180,000, which they've now reinvested in other technology, all because they thought, that's working, we'll leave it. It was slow. And we said, well, look, let's have a look and just see what we can do. And they were staggered by the amount that we could save them. So I think my key takeaway from this one is keep reviewing it. It's really easy to forget because it is quite a commodity now. But I always recommend to customers, think of this as switching your energy provider or your car insurance. You know, personally, we do that a lot just to make sure we're getting the best deal. Connectivity, let's do the same, is my best advice there. I love this because I've got some great use cases around this one, but the interesting thing is around 50 to 56% of those licenses inactive, unassigned, oversized, not fit for purpose. It's crazy. And it's very easy just to add a license because you think you might need a spare one. But all these costs add up. I think the key stat that Microsoft give across is that a lot of businesses that have got the E3 or E5, so the enterprise licensing, are just not even using the additional advanced features that these bring. And that's a lot of the stuff that can secure you and really make streamlining your operations effective moving forward. So it's crazy to have these licenses and not exploring the capability there. Many customers aren't aware of frontline worker licenses, for example, which come with simple capability, but along with the security. So we've got great use cases for this, where we've got customers such as care homes, for example, where their frontline workers are people that just maybe walking around and tidying up, cleaning up. They don't need a full Office 365 account, but they need to be contactable, have access to things like Teams, email. Frontline worker licenses significantly reduce that footprint in terms of cost, and it works perfectly. So we have a licensing assessment tool that we can run on your tenant that will look at everything and provide at-a-glance insights into that utilization, who's got what, where they're unassigned or if they're not being used, who's got multi-factor authentication enabled. Interestingly, Microsoft just recently made it mandatory for all administrators on an Office 365 tenant to have multi-factor authentication. It's only really going to be a matter of time, I think, where that's going to be pushed to all users. It's 100% should be there. You know, MFA, you are who you are. You've got your username and password. You've got something on you, your phone, and the capability to sign in. We actually use token access for ours now. So I have to have my phone with me. I'm regularly prompted. I scan my QR code. I use my pass key. It's using my facial ID. So we're fully biometric, and it just speeds that things up. It doesn't give you something to forget about, but you know you've really ticked all the boxes as much as you can there. So interesting to look at that. And again, the assessment we can do can really expose some potential cost savings. Similarly, within the Microsoft Azure stack, and it's estimated that 25 to 40% of businesses are wasting their spend on Azure. Now, I think this comes from a few areas where initially as an IT team and someone who's techie, I use a lot of Azure virtual environments for my demo systems and that sort of thing. It's very easy to say, oh yeah, I'll do that just in case, and then forget about it. But what you'll see is a lot of people are oversizing virtual machines, putting too much storage on there that isn't being used, dormant test development machines. So, well, let's spin this up and we'll do a test on it just to make sure it all works okay before we go into production. If you've forgotten about that development machine, it's still there accruing cost and driving. But unless you're looking at this, you're never going to know it. You're just going to see an invoice that says this and you think, oh, it's IT, it's obviously Azure, I must need it. But with an assessment, we can actually link this into your tenant. It can give you a full assessment of your compute and storage spend, usage. It can make proactive recommendations and actually give you a visual indicator of how much potentially you can save per annum by undertaking those recommendations. So it's a really great little tool to think about, and it's easy. I mean, we did it ourselves, and we like to test the things that we're going to try and put out there for our customers. And of course, we do a lot of our own development and put a lot of stuff out there for our applications, testing, demo environments, and that sort of thing. And we actually realised we can save ourselves 12,000 a year. And so great, it's a great case study just to show that you don't know what you don't know when it comes to this stuff. So not only can we help with that reporting, we can get it in there. We, of course, enable customers before they go on this journey to do Azure migrations to the cloud, and a lot of high-profile customer migrations, and also government departments. So we've got a wealth of experience and capability within Azure. So again, the QR code will give you access to that. We're coming into the final bits of reducing your costs, and we wanted to touch briefly on our outsourced IT capability. So we've seen a huge amount of uptake recently, in the last couple of years, of customers really getting on board with us for these services. And my personal opinion on this is it's a lot about the flexibility, I think, in terms of how we do things. And we tried to change it up, because traditionally it was very much break, fix, and this, that, and the other. But we built 3 tiers. So our first tier is escalation support. So it keeps it nice and simple. Second tier, managed support. And then a fully managed service. That's where we take care of everything. So I'm going to break this down for you on the next slide and give you a bit of an idea in terms of exactly how that works. So the packages, the escalation support is a complete pay-as-you-go model. It's reactive. You pay a fixed amount per device or per user, and then you escalate to us, and we charge you on a per incident basis. We still give you access to things like our Datto dashboard, so you can see all your devices, the PSA tool, and so you can look at the tickets and all that sort of thing. It's your nice simple entry level. We then move into managed support, which has got everything in the escalation support, but we also do system monitoring, alerting and reporting, and the fully automated patch management. Again, that's still pay-as-you-go per incident. We then moved into the fully managed, which is a fixed cost per user per month, where we're covering all of the infrastructure, all of your people, third-party escalations, backup, antivirus, elective changes are included in that respect, and a dedicated service delivery manager as well, just to make sure that we're assessing, looking at areas that can be improved, and looking at full strategic element. Give you an idea of some of the costs on this on a 20-user company. So I base this on 20 people, on Office 365, a bit of Azure, 2 switches, a firewall and a router, just to give you an example. But your pricing tier within the escalation support starts at your infrastructure, 150 per device per month, and then your users at 150 as well. So your total per month underlying figure is at 37.50, and then you pay per incident based on when you need that incident. That could be normal, extended, or 24/7 out of hours. Similarly, the price jumps up a little bit more on the managed support area, because of course we're doing proactive monitoring and management of the infrastructure. So that goes up a bit more, but then again, you pay per incident. Then on our fully managed, pricing starts from about 35 quid a month. So that's all inclusive, fixed cost, including all your infrastructure support there, and all included. So it's super simple. We've got an extra add on there. If you've got any VIPs or got people that might need out of hours support, you can add that on at £5 per user a month. So a nice simple model, and flexible to suit your needs there. So it works really well. So Oliver, that's me getting to the end of mine. We're bang on time in terms of the Q&A, which is good. So we'll move to that. So have we got any in the list?
Yes, we have got some questions. So I think analogy that I would draw, I think that was fantastic, Martin. I think in sort of showing the breadth of our capability, and really the purpose of today was to really show you and help you to consider some of the things that we've got available. And of course, as Martin said earlier, it's almost like going into a sweet shop and seeing all the jars of sweets on the shelf. And for us now, obviously, the call to action and the area where we want to go next is to take that jar of sweets off the shelf and look inside it. So what you will see in a few moments is that we've got a QR code, which Martin's showing you now, that you can scan, and that will allow you to create a one-to-one consultancy for any of the areas that you've seen today. And that will mean that we can then tailor that more to your organization and make sure that we can really think about the savings and benefits that you might get as an individual organization. But let's go back to some questions. So the first question I've got around here is around Intune, actually, Martin. So interestingly, I've just looked, but 33% of cyber incidents actually involved a mobile device over the last year. So, it's not a small amount. And the question that I've got here is that is Intune agnostic, dependent on the device that I'm using? And also, how do I push policies out through Intune? How does that all work? Can I do that myself? Do I have to rely on Chess? How does that all work?
Sure. So yes, agnostic into the point that you can use iOS and also Android. So you're not restricted there. I think the beauty of what Intune can do also when it comes to mobile devices, especially sort of tablets and mobile handsets, is that we can still enable businesses to really secure and deploy bring your own device options as well as corporate devices. So we, for instance, I've got a personal phone and I've got a work phone, but I've got both of them on the system for disaster recovery purposes, just like I've got a laptop on a desktop at home, just in case. And my personal device is fully secured, so I can access work resources such as applications and necessary data that I've got access to. So it can really be flexible in that form. Yeah, whether Android or iOS, it doesn't make any difference in that respect. When it comes to the auto updates of policies and that sort of thing, absolutely. If you've got people that are savvy enough or want to be trained on that sort of stuff, we can of course help and advise around those sort of things. But as part of anything, we can provide that service as well, because I guess the benefit we have is we see a lot of the changes and a lot of the challenges that other businesses have, especially when it comes to cybersecurity, of things to think about. Like I touched on that multi-factor authentication piece, and as things are being enforced by Microsoft to drive security, unfortunately you can't get away from them. We could help automatically advise and recommend and deploy those as well. So yeah, it's very flexible.
Cool, good. Just onto Power Platform. So, we live and breathe Power Platform and Power BI every day in our lives, and we've got a myriad of reports and insights that we get generated, and of course, now the benefit is Copilot can start to examine some of those insights and that data that you've got in Power BI to give you some real management support. The question that's here is the fact of, as an organization, if I've got lots of different business metrics all over the place in different systems, it just feels like a major headache to even know where to start with how I might consolidate this all into a more uniform approach. So if I was to think about using Power Platform, how would you suggest a business should start that journey? Where would they start?
Sure. So always be mindful that the Power Platform's got a lot of components to it in terms of Power Automate, Power BI. Those are the two key ones. Power Forms, we don't really see a lot of, for instance, that's creating sort of websites and that sort of thing. With our BI, that is pulling data from a lot of disparate places. And if you were to assess people on how long it takes them to compile things like weekly reports, board reports, monthly reports, whatever they need to do in terms of that MI that the business requires, you will no doubt find that they are all being pulled from disparate sources and from disparate people. I had an example recently where someone very close to me, my wife, works for a very large business. They haven't got SharePoint, they're just implementing it. They do all their reporting manually. And I cringe when I sit there, a business of this size, and I say, please let me get in front of them, because I could streamline and make that business so efficient that all the things that they're doing are just automated. Getting those disparate, Power BI has got the perfect capability using APIs to talk to any data source. So think of it as Power BI being at the head of the tree. Using the APIs, it's tapping into the data sources and the data tables from everywhere else. It can be tweaked and pulled in to say, right, I want this put here and I want this visualization for that data. And it will just do it. And then you can set a schedule on it. You have to be mindful of ingress and egress of data when it comes to Microsoft 365 and cloud and overhead of I guess, virtual machines and Azure usage. If you're doing this a lot, you don't want to refresh your data every hour, for example, because it can get quite costly. But then getting that stuff done, once you've got it in line, it's really easy to tweak and pull through. And like you say, once you've got that, you can then use Copilot to drill down, investigate, ask questions, summarize, help with your board report, saying, right, here's my Power BI report. Look at that report. Tell me what are the key takeaways, summarize this and put it into a one-page document that I can send to the board, which of course you would check first, and then work it that way. So it will streamline so much stuff. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I think it does. And I think the thing that I would say is, there is lots of research and lots of books that say that actually, you only need a very few number of KPIs to really run an effective organization. And the thing for me would be the way I would think about starting, which we've done in our teams, is think about the metrics that matter the most to you, and actually how you surface those and how you get the data into some insight and into sort of some metrics that you can use on a daily basis. And I think then from there, it's then good to expand beyond that. So I think that's good. Excellent. So Copilot, we do know that over 90% of organizations claim that they have employees using unsanctioned AI tools in the business. And I said at the start of this call is there are a lot of companies that are deciding that actually bolting the doors and trying to stop employees using AI is the right choice. But I think it is inevitable over time that the power and the capability and the efficiency and benefit that can be delivered through AI is going to mean that every organization is going to have to adopt it. And therefore, if I'm a business that's currently at that position of we don't want anybody using it, what would be your advice around how I might start to consider how I make a transition that I can utilize AI to my business as an advantage?
Yeah, I mean, I think we, again, are a great use case for this because we didn't rush into it. We did our data assessment because that's your biggest risk, really, is you don't know what you don't know in terms of your data. If you haven't got any policies in place or categorization, whether things are publicly viewable, commercial in confidence, confidential, for example, you could open a massive minefield. I do a demo actually on my tenant where I've got a SharePoint site and it's called Everyday Scooters, a fictitious company that I created. I put a load of files in there and didn't lock them down. And then as a standard Copilot user, I just asked a question, is there any salary information on the system? Boom, it pulls it back, says this. I said, okay, explore that and what other data's in it. And it's in that data, it's got all about disciplinary actions that had happened. So unless you've got those controls in place, which is where that data readiness assessment is critical, you're going to worry. So don't let that be the hindrance, though. Think of some empowered people, board members, advocates, champions that you trust. Start looking at this stuff and seeing the art of the possible is really the best advice, because if you're not doing it, your competitors are. And if you're not doing it, your people are finding another way to do it. And so you have to embrace it, or at least get a policy in place so you know where the business stands. Otherwise, it is the Wild West. You're going to see stuff created. I can generally tell if something's been created by an AI model. Little things, especially when we're UK. I see a CV, I can see Copilot's had a go at it because it converts Z's to S's and little things like that. So you can see those parts, but I just don't think it's avoidable, and it's gonna happen. And with Microsoft now pushing more of the premium features down into free features, such as they've recently implemented the ability for Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc., for you to utilize Copilot in there, make changes, recommendations. It's being forced. So,
and I think the other thing I would just add there, Martin, is for me is there's a broader thing around employee engagement. It's about making employees' time at work more rich in terms of the tasks that they're doing. And as you said yesterday, they're probably in the space of half an hour 15 tasks that actually were time suckers or time thieves, that actually what you can do is by allowing and empowering our employees to use these tools to make their lives more efficient, it just makes a better experience for them as an employee. So I think it does reach out to things like employee retention and stuff like that. And I'm just very conscious, so last question before we wrap up.
Sure.
The accelerators you talked about basic, standard and premium. Just so I understand, if I'm an organization, do I need to do the assessment up front to understand whether the package of business, standard or premium is right for me at this stage? Or can I start with basic, then add on into standard and then add on into premium and do it like
absolutely.
that?
Yeah, it's really a stepping stone progress as well, because the art of the possible is what that initial basic one is about, and getting your head around what Copilot does, how it does it, what it means to the business and what it can mean to your people. Getting a few people skilled up, understanding it. So if they're asked, you can hold your own in terms of a conversation, and you've got some training on how to use it. From there, naturally, you will find a business says, right, okay, I did this, I did that. And what we found in our business is, because we did it gradually, it was the word of mouth thing. We said, oh, have you seen this? I can do this.
Yeah,
people saying,
yeah.
That's great. I wish I could do that. How do I get that? And then people get enthused. But because you've got them first elements of control up, it's great that they're getting enthused because they want to drive more proactive and productive capability, driving those efficiencies. So yeah, start at that basic one. And that can give you a real good insight. The data readiness assessment, like I say, your data's there. It's people are going to do this anyway, right? They're probably taking your data out and putting it into public available engines already. So do that. Get a control. The policy. Get the policy.
Put the guardrails in place for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Brilliant, Martin. Thank you very much. I know you could talk about this for 4 hours. So thank you very much, everybody. That sort of ends our webinar today. Really, what I would just urge you to do now, as we've got on the screen, is this QR code. Really, I would really hope that you will just click into that, choose a session that you would like to have a little bit more of an in-depth insight into, and then Martin or one of his teams will support you in really seeing how that might bring it to life for you as an individual business. And my last slide, just if you want to flick on, Martin, for me, is just to give you a notice of an upcoming webinar that we've got, which is going to turn attention more a little bit towards cybersecurity. So a more in-depth view around looking at the anatomy of a cyber breach, and what do attacks that have happened reveal about your risk and how you might want to mitigate that with support of other organizations. So that's on the 11th of March at 2 o'clock. So if you go to our website, you'd be able to register for that. But thank you very much. We will send out the recording to everybody that's registered, and we hope to continue these conversations with all of you in due course. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Saul.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.